In the absolutely wild world of professional wrestling, that line between fiction and reality is, always a little blurry. But what happens when the guy who owns the entire company decides to make himself the world champion? Not just once, but twice. Yeah, today we're diving into the pretty shocking and, let's be honest, controversial story of how WWE Chairman Vince McMahon did just that.
So let's just jump right into it, because the basic facts of this story are kind of hard to wrap your head around. We are not talking about some athlete in their prime here. No. We're talking about the suit, the corporate executive, the promoter himself stepping into the ring and winning the biggest prize in the game. The first time this happened, Vince McMahon was 54 years old. Let that sink in. That's how old he was when he won the WWE Championship, the single most prestigious title in the entire industry, an age when most wrestlers are, long since retired.
And if you thought that was bonkers, just you wait. 7 years later, he did it again. At 61 years old, McMahon wins the ECW World Championship, making him the oldest champion in that title's entire storied history.
I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? How on earth did this happen? Was this just some colossal ego trip? Or was there some kind of master plan, some method to all this madness? To figure that out, we need to understand exactly who we're dealing with. And right here, this is the most crucial part of the whole story. To understand how Vince McMahon, the businessman, became a world champion, you first have to meet Mr. McMahon, the on-screen character he created. They are not the same thing.
See, on one hand, you've got Vince McMahon, the man. He's the third-generation promoter who turned WWE into a global behemoth. But in the late 90s, at 52 years old, he created his on-screen alter ego, Mr. McMahon, this egomaniacal, tyrannical, and just straight-up evil billionaire boss. And this is what makes this situation so unique. Mr. McMahon wasn't just some celebrity making a cameo. Oh no, he was the ultimate villain of wrestling's hottest period ever, the Attitude Era. He was a legit ratings draw. People tuned in every week just to see what horrible thing he'd do next, and more importantly, they paid a lot of money to see him get his butt kicked, usually by his arch-nemesis, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
So, with all that in mind, let's look at that first absolutely unbelievable title win back in 1999. This wasn't some random spur-of-the-moment thing. It was the boiling point of the biggest story in wrestling. This went down at the absolute peak of the company's popularity. I mean, the story of the evil boss, Mr. McMahon, against the beer-swilling anti-hero Stone Cold was the hottest thing in all of entertainment. The title win was just this massive, insane plot twist in a saga that had millions of us glued to our screens for over a year. And here's how it all went down, because it perfectly captures the chaos of that era. On an episode of SmackDown, McMahon books himself in a title match against the champion, Triple H. He proceeds to get absolutely demolished for the entire match. It was brutal. But just when it looked like it was all over, bam! Stone Cold Steve Austin runs in, hits Triple H with a stunner, and then physically drags an unconscious Vince McMahon on top of him for the 1-2-3. The chairman had won, but only because his greatest enemy made it happen. And here's the smoking gun, really. This was all for the story. The very next Monday on Raw, McMahon comes out and immediately vacates the championship. See, he never planned on being a defending champion. The win was a plot device, a shocking moment, designed purely to move the long-term story between Austin and Triple H forward.
Okay, now let's fast forward to 2007. His second world title reign, well, that was a completely different beast, and it was driven by a much more cynical motivation. So first, you gotta understand ECW. It was this rebellious, counterculture wrestling company in the 90s, and its hardcore fan base loved it for its gritty, violent, anti-establishment style. So when WWE bought it and relaunched it as their own third brand, those original fans were, well, to put it mildly, they were skeptical. And Vince, he leaned right into that skepticism. At the Backlash pay-per-view, he didn't win the title one-on-one. Nope, his son Shane, and the monster Umaga beat the champion Bobby Lashley in a 3-on-1 handicap match. Vince McMahon himself pinned Lashley and became the ECW World Champion.
And here's the thing, this was totally intentional. The whole point of this title reign was for the corporate Mr. McMahon character to basically mock everything that the original ECW stood for. He started wearing a do-rag to parody the hardcore style and just paraded around with that belt like he was the ultimate conqueror, deliberately trying to tick off the loyal fan base of the brand he now owned.
So all of this brings us to the big debate that honestly still rages among fans today. Were these moments of storytelling genius that made for unforgettable TV? Or were they just cynical moves that actually damaged the prestige of the championships themselves?
On one side of the fence, you have the argument that this was peak sports entertainment. As one fan on Reddit put it, it created a level of unpredictable storytelling that we just don't see as much today. It made you feel genuine emotion, and it made the whole show feel chaotic and real, which was the magic of that era.
But then, you've got the other side of the coin, the viewpoint that a world championship should only be for the absolute best wrestlers on the planet. As another fan bluntly put it, putting the title on a non-wrestler, no matter how great his character was, cheapened the legacy of the belt. The only saving grace was that business was so hot at the time, it could survive it.
So, when you boil it all down, here's what you should really take away from this. Neither of these were what you'd call a traditional championship reign. McMahon's WWE title reign lasted 4 days before he gave it up, and the ECW reign was just over a month. They were both designed to be short, shocking plot twists, basically using the championship belts as props to tell a much larger story.
And that leaves us with this really fascinating question that gets right to the heart of what professional wrestling even is. When your main goal is to tell the most compelling story you possibly can, is anything off limits? Vince McMahon's title reigns are maybe the most extreme example of that question in action, and frankly, it's a debate that's probably never going to be settled.